Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 58, featuring Shreya Bhan, an amazing artist and fashion designer and founder of Brushbound fashion brands. Welcome, Shreya. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all things fashion and Web3.
That's it. That's it. I appreciate you joining us. Your art is truly breathtaking, and I'm really looking forward to being able to ask you about the fashion inspirations behind it and also some other questions that I have on my mind. So yes, welcome everyone to Web3 Warriors. I am your host, David Krome. I go by Krome in the metaverse. And this week, as Shreya just mentioned, we're going to be looking at the intersection of art and fashion in Web3. And Shreya is an amazing guest to have on the show for that topic because she does have a really cool fashion brand as well as an NFT, a collection of NFTs or different NFT collections, I should say, that are really inspired by fashion. And the colors just pop out, and it's very clear that, you know, she's kind of merging the two industries, the two genres, and in a really interesting, creative way. So when we look at that intersection, right, between art and fashion, you know, right now, just this week, we had the Metaverse Fashion Week happening in the spatial metaverse as well as Decentraland. Shout out to Holotopia and all the other groups involved with that. Been really cool to see. There's been a lot of sustainability focus as well around that. So really cool to see just the way that already fashion is having a huge impact in Web3, and I think it has really from the beginning. When I first came into the space, looking at the metaverse, looking at what was possible, coming from kind of a gamer background, one of the first things I saw was just all the different type of wearables being sold as NFTs that you could wear in Decentraland or in crypto voxels. So it's always been a pretty interesting kind of angle of Web3, but I think it's really interesting to hear from people who have experience in the kind of traditional fashion world or even just making actual tangible fashion items and see how they see that kind of blending with the Web3 and the digital space. Another thing that I've seen is the phygital concept, right? So you can actually purchase an NFT, even a digital wearable, and actually get like the physical clothing that matches that wearable. So that's just a few kind of angles of what I've seen so far when looking at that kind of intersection of art and fashion in Web3. You can also visit our metaverse spot at web3warriors.io and sign the guest book to be entered in to win a limited edition Avril 15 derivative wearable for the metaverse. So that's at web3warriors.io. Appreciate everybody who's already signed that. And without further ado, really want to jump over to Shreya here and hear about her kind of projects and the many kind of really interesting, innovative angles that she's taken on this intersection between fashion and art. Maybe before we dive into your NFTs and everything you've got going on, Shreya, could you give us a little bit of background, just, you know, where you're coming from and what brought you into Web3?
Absolutely. So I've worked in fashion actually for about 12 years now. And it was, I think, at the end of 2021, when a few friends sort of introduced me to NFTs, and they were showing me that there are projects like World of Women, and, you know, the projects which are women-centric, and they're also women creating women art. And that's what I was already doing on Instagram, but that was obviously not helping me financially, to be honest. I was just doing it because everybody was under COVID, and it was just kind of a time when I had a lot of time. So I started posting my art on Instagram. They sort of introduced me to the NFT space, and they said, like, you need to come on Twitter and you need to like start chatting with like-minded people. So I entered from a group which was women of color, and it was just a lovely space to be in, where I could see that everybody was being very supportive, something that you don't really see on Instagram because there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens on Instagram. If you're already quite popular, then it's like barter system, you know, that's not so free flowing as I feel like Web3 is. And I kind of, you know, really was thankful for that support. And I thought, okay, let's just take the plunge and drop a collection. So I think it was within 2 weeks of me being on Twitter, I dropped a collection on OpenSea of 11 pieces, and it sold out in, like, as I was dropping them, they were selling out, and I could not believe what was happening with me because I had not.
So you're one of those success stories that probably inspired other people, like, hey, I can do this too. I'll go sell overnight, right?
I would love to tell them that they should just try it out, just definitely give it a shot, because I never expected that to happen. It was obviously shocking. I could see that people were interested and they were waiting. And it's a funny story that I actually dropped one before time because I was just testing it and I didn't know how it like works. So by mistake, I actually put the price and it was on sale. And it sold out even before the rest of the collection was out. And the person who bought it, she messaged me and she said, "I'm sorry, but I was dying to buy it, so I just bought it."
Couldn't wait.
Yeah, it was just so fun to see like people actually genuinely interested in your art and your story. And that was it. It was literally no looking back since then. And yeah, I've dropped a lot of other collections as well since then. I've done a lot of one-of-one, like basically I tried to improve my art, and I went into like a lot of detail. So then I started creating like smaller collections. And yeah, it's been very interesting so far. Like my work has been shown at SheNFT, which happened in Amsterdam. I spoke at NFT London. I'm also speaking at NFT.NYC. So very excited for that, and hopefully my work will also be at the Times Square. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that. Just waiting to see that happen.
Times Square, that would be epic if I see a couple of your pieces at the NFT.NYC in Times Square while I'm out there. Yeah, really, congratulations. That's amazing. We always like to hear those success stories, you know, right out the gate. And your art does kind of speak for itself. Like those colors really pop, and I can see how, you know, people, especially, you know, starting of 2022, right? That's when this would have dropped. Yeah, so that was like still pretty peak, you know, the bull run was still going at that point, I think. And so people were even more eager to buy amazing art like these colors that pop off the screen here. That's really awesome. So you came kind of from the Instagram background, and somebody pulled you in and was like, hey, you know, you could probably make some money on this amazing art you're making. So looking at the Brushbound brand, did that predate your Web3 entry? Yeah. And what was the kind of inspiration behind that?
So I've always, so I've worked in fashion. I worked like literally every department of fashion. So I worked as a designer. I worked in marketing, operations, sales, everything. And Brushbound is actually my second brand. So I did have a brand earlier also when I was back in India, but started this in 2019 end. So it was just before COVID actually. And I started it was because I wanted to create like a very neat, sustainable brand which is focused on prints. And I live in London, which is like gloomy all the time. Everybody's only wearing black and white and gray and navy. So I was just like, can I just bring in some form of color in everyone's life and just
There
like
you
a
go.
dopamine hit. I honestly, I'm so happy because I haven't sold out my fashion collection, but whoever wears it always sends me a message saying your clothes make me happy, and that's all that I wanted.
That's awesome.
And that kind of, you know, was my aim, that I haven't made a lot of collections. I made very small collections because I don't want to mass produce anything. All the fabric is sustainable, and I want to keep it like that. I just want to keep it like slow fashion, keep it going alongside NFTs, and I've kind of tried to merge the two things as well. Yeah, that's
really cool.
That's how the fashion.
Yeah, that's funny how you make that contrast with gloomy London and these colors. They definitely pop. So that was some necessary bright vibes, you know, making people happy out in gloomy London. So have you made that connection yet? What we might call phygital in the space here, the idea that maybe they purchase an NFT and they get maybe a discount on a clothing item, or they actually get a clothing item sent to them. Have you looked at that concept yet? Yeah.
Yes, so when I dropped the first collection, actually I gave a physical art piece to them of the NFT that they own, but I also gave them a discount for their friends and family, which they could like use and avail on the website, whether they wanted to purchase some other art or they wanted to purchase clothes, they could use that discount. And it goes the other way as well. Like I feel like if you have one of my clothing or something, then you are up for like a raffle or giveaway at any time. So I've kind of tried to merge the two things. And also the next collection that I'm making, I haven't produced, I haven't done the sampling physically. I'm only doing the sampling digitally. I learned Clothes 3D and I started digital clothes on that, and I was like, okay, now I don't ever want to actually make samples because in fashion, a lot of brands have gone sustainable in terms of the production, which is easy to do because you're producing a lot of pieces, and that's where you can scale down and, you know, you can have sustainable practices. But I feel sustainability is even more important at the time when you're sampling and designing, because, you know, you might love something and you might create like like a samples, say samples or something they absolutely love, and then you go ahead and produce them, like mass produce them, but sustainably. But nobody really likes the design, so the whole point is destroyed.
Yeah,
So what
so
I
you're
want to
still
do with
getting
the
waste in the end, right?
absolutely, because what I want to do is I want to create with the people. So I want to like create a digital collection, and then I want to like sort of have like, on Discord, I just want to go out there and ask people like, which one do you like, and which one would you prefer? Do you like this color or that color? And I want to take that time, like a good 6 months, 1 year, to like create a collection that is actually co-created with the people, with the community, because that's something that that I've gained from Web3, which is not there. And like, there's no way to connect with your users that directly and like, in a group. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So you've already done both sides, kind of like, and it's really interesting. So it seems like you're almost taking a limited edition perspective on fashion even, right? So like you're looking at sustainability. You don't want to have any waste with the sampling process. So you're doing that all digitally now. That's definitely commendable. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think your kind of fashion brand might be even more like well suited, right, for kind of a NFT Web3 merger, because it is fairly limited even on the physical side, and then you have the rarity on the digital side as well. That's really neat. So you must have really good kind of relationships with your customers and that. How do you feel about that as you scale up? I'm sure you're planning to one day have a massive fashion house and buyers from all over the world.
Can't wait for that to happen. But I want to take like slow steps, because this space Web3 is also evolving so quickly. Every day I am learning something new. So I just want to take my time and just understand how it works. And sometimes there have been a few fashion brands who entered the space, which they are fast fashion brands that have entered the space without naming them, but they have had, like, when they entered, everybody was very excited about them entering the Web3 space, and they were like, oh wow, this is going to be amazing, because they're not a sustainable brand, but they had a good approach when they came to Web3. It was a rug pull, and I was so sad for so many people. So they were like, we trusted you in Web3 because you had a different strategy, but you pulled off a Web2 on us. So it's very important to like kind of time I want to learn. I want to speak to people a lot more. So I feel like going for these events really helps, because I'm usually wearing my own brand, and then I can just gauge how you can't miss at any conference. Well, that's for sure.
No doubt.
But yeah, it's just because that's when I get to like really see everyone's reaction and what do they prefer, what do they not prefer, and all of that. And of course, Discord I feel is a great way to also connect with consumers. I haven't actively done that because I am just still getting a team together, because I'm just losing control over things right now, because there's just so much happening with the IRL brand and Web3 and all these conferences and everything. But I feel like it definitely has more scope of connecting with your consumers and understanding them. And clearly, the people who bought my NFTs are obsessed with colors and love the maximalist.
Yeah.
So I got the right track with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because you're kind of targeting the same audience, right? It's just, and like people who are into art tend to be into fashion as well. And yeah, it's a very cool kind of niche that you've carved out there. It's really impressive. When you're looking at the inspiration behind your art, and it looks like since the art kind of mirrors the fashion, maybe they share their inspirations, but what is kind of the inspiration, I guess, first behind your fashion, and then you seem to carry that into the NFT artwork?
So actually, I think because I started making the art first on Instagram, I would say the art is what has inspired the fashion. Although like I established the fashion brand, before the NFTs, when I started making art, I actually got inspired. I think like COVID was a difficult time for everyone, and I felt like I've been working and there was never a pause, and I was just forced to like sit down and really think about like, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Like, what is really happening? So I feel like we were all going through like a lot of changes and a lot of thoughts and a lot of things. So what I wanted to really express with my art was I only just want people to look at my art and get happy. And I know that's not possible all the time. So I was always trying to have a message behind every art piece that I collected. There was like, something like, I'm done with negative thoughts and I would like to stay positive. Or even if it was like a pun on something like that, even as a joke, but there is always like a deeper, maybe a heavier meaning behind everything that I was creating. But I used a lot of bright colors because I just wanted to reach out to as many people as possible.
Nice.
And just like, at least when they look at it, like, they'll feel happy, and then they'll be like, oh, that makes sense also. So like almost like that. And yeah, and then that sort of translated into the fashion, because I was mixing a lot of colors and prints, and obviously it's probably not for everyone, but I feel like most people get very excited seeing so many colors together. And it's almost like, I've been asked, like, how do you even do this? And I also have no idea, but I just literally like my eyes and I'm like, okay, they look together, like they look fine, so let's just go with it. Yeah, with the saturation and all of that. So the fashion brand actually took from the art, and then the NFTs kind of look from fashion, because I just can't keep fashion out of my life.
No doubt.
So it's just like, it's all mixed together, and yeah, it's going together, it's taking inspiration from each other. But yes, the art always has like a deeper meaning behind it, for sure. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's kind of like it was like a symbiotic relationship, right? So there's like the art influenced the fashion, but the art also captured fashion, and then you spun that into a kind of new fashion line. Very cool. That's really what Web3 is all about, just kind of like fueling your inspiration and you're just going for it. It's really inspiring, very impressive. Awesome. So looking at the images that you have here and also your fashion, you definitely seem to be capturing a lot of diversity. So how do you feel about, I guess, bigger question, diversity in Web3 has been an ongoing conversation, multiculturalism, making sure everyone feels represented and is valued, appropriately. So how do you feel about diversity in Web3? And then I'll ask you a little bit more about the art, and how you've created really cool, diverse art, because it's colorful and the people are colorful. Sometimes they even have green and purple skin. It's very interesting. But yeah, how do you feel about diversity in Web3 more broadly?
So I think like because I started in the space also through this group, which was Women of Color. It was just something that happened very organically. I'm from India, so I just wanted some sort of a representation, but it wasn't very intentional, I'll be honest. But when I started creating one or two art pieces, I just felt like, I think it's almost like me in all of those pieces. So I kind of feel like I represent a large part of the society. And thankfully, I entered from a very, very comfortable and very supportive group of women. So I kind of stuck to it. And it wasn't like a strategy or something, but I was just naturally drawn to draw women of color. I mean, I think just the last collection I had like green and purple and blue skin.
Yeah.
But before that, I was only drawing women of color. And I feel like it resonates with everyone as well, and it looks great with the colors. And I would like to stick to it because I feel like I just feel like there's some voices that need to be heard, and I feel like if I'm doing that, then I'm very proud of it. Yeah.
Nice. No, it definitely resonated with me, and it's nice to see, especially in this Web3 space. I personally I love the multicultural community. Like, I always talk about the Dream Conduit DAO that I'm a part of. We have like members on the executive board in like all the different corners of the globe, and we definitely talk to creators from all different corners as well. But I do, often see, whether it's on the front page of marketplaces or whether it's on the stages of certain NFT conferences, I don't see the same kind of multicultural representation. Like you said, you were brought on through a group that was women of color, kind of lifting each other up and supporting each other. And I think, I've been lucky to find the community that I've found that is very global, very multicultural, also like lifting each other up. But I guess I hope to see more of that in the kind of, maybe you call, mainstream of Web3.
Yes, of course. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no doubt. And on the green and purple skin, what inspired that? Was it just kind of otherworldly, or? Just curious.
I was just wondering how many more colors I can add to it. No, I'm just kidding. It was just literally, it was just like, I was just trying something out. I honestly did it by mistake the first time. I was like, okay, that looks very interesting. So I just thought like, this can be like another collection, but like the essence is still going to be, like, it just represents women of color, whether they're purple and pink, but that's fine.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm still going to stick to, the signature style for sure. This is just a small collection that I was just trying out, and it seems to be doing well.
No doubt. No, it is really cool. The girls, you call them?
Fashion girls.
That's it. That's it. Very cool. Awesome, awesome. So, have you actually ventured into wearables at all, as far as like taking your fashion pieces and turning them into things that can be worn in the metaverse and kind of walk around with these colorful, amazing dresses or shirts or jackets? Have you looked into that or dabbled in that?
I mean, I'm working on it. And I'm just learning so many new software, so it's a lot of time. But I did sort of did a collaboration with Fabricant. So I actually they had a sort of a competition, and we had to submit like style prints. So I submitted like 3 prints, and they got selected, and I won that competition along with a few others. And so they had converted those into wearables, which they were selling on their platform, and it was also sold to the World of Women community. So that was when I actually saw my, my prints as wearables in the metaverse. It was really amazing. There was a party that happened after, and it was incredible to actually see like, someone wearing a cape, which was like that, or like a bomber jacket, which had my print. So I found it really fascinating. Since the time that has happened, I've been working on like just, how I work on obviously working on the samples digitally, but also how to convert them into wearables. It's just a little technical. I'll get there.
Yeah, it's definitely, you need to have a little bit of Blender experience or voxel, magic of voxel.
Where I need to work harder, because I've learned Clone 3D, and that was absolutely because I've worked in fashion, so it was very easy for me to understand Clone 3D. Blend is where I need to like pause and spend more time on, for sure.
Get the fine tuning down for sure. Yeah, no, the colors and the clothes in your pieces are just amazing. So I'm sure naturally it'll be very successful to have wearables that have the colors like that. I wanted to ask you about your Glutton Girls. I think that might have been the first collection I found of yours. I just thought it was so interesting. It's like these women looking like in high fashion, just pigging out on some tasty food, but still looking good while they're doing it, So what was the kind of inspiration behind this collection? And yeah, just really impressive.
My second collection, and I am a huge foodie, so honestly that's where it comes from. I'm just obsessed with like fried chicken and like things like that. Like I just love like a nice burger or something. And I actually saw like a commercial on the television where they were talking about how they always show men having like these steak burgers and all of that. And I was just like, I'm sure you can show women also enjoying food at some point. We're not always supposed to be graceful and pretty and just not be messy. So that was literally where the thought came from, that, you can just be anybody. Just like if you can be a messy woman and you can still be like sing. So it has nothing to do. So I was just trying to kind of, it was almost like a fun portrayal of just women enjoying food. Like, let's just enjoy food the way we want to. So yeah, nice. I didn't think I would go ahead with the whole collection, but I was just enjoying it so much while I was making it. I was like, okay, this has to be the 11-piece collection now.
It was a super cool concept. Yeah, very cool concept. Awesome. When it comes to blockchains, are you very partial to Ethereum? Have you looked at Tezos or Solana? Are you interested in minting on any other blockchains?
I'm interested in minting on other blockchains, but so far I have always been on Ethereum. However, the clothes that the Fabricant had released, which had my prints, was on Flow. So that was kind of interesting as well. I haven't done it on other blockchains, but I was like, it's not something that I consciously doing, that I don't want to go to any other blockchain. I would love to explore them, but like I'm just like I said, there's just so much I'm learning every day. I just want to like take it all in and take right steps and slowly and steady and like, just get there. But yeah,
so many angles.
Not over to any other. Yeah, there's just so much happening. It's like evolving every single day. And like, I feel like, for me, Web3 is not just like design or just for creators or just for people who are interested in art. I just feel like Web3 to me is just innovation. You can literally come up with anything, and you can sort of make it happen. Like it can be an intersection of like physical clothes with digital wearables, or it could be like a token, or you could have like a ticketing system for your fashion week, or like you can own a showroom in the metaverse. Like there's no end to it. So like it's almost like how far can you go? So I'm just literally push myself, like how far can I go and what can I come up with, which is like, new. Because finally there's a space where you can try anything and actually be one of the, first people to build a foundation on, because that doesn't happen in Web2. They're already, like I was talking this the other day, that there are already brands like, the Gucci and the Prada, which are established heritage brands, and there is no way that that my brand can ever, come close to that, because they've been there for years, and it would be so hard for me to break into that market otherwise. But what I'm bringing with me is Web3, which they don't know about, and obviously they are trying to enter the market with their own expertise, and like some of them have been successful as well. But at least I don't have that. I don't come with that preconceived fear of like, oh, I will never be able to break into this market. In Web3, I feel like I am creating the market with everybody else, and that's the biggest advantage of being in Web3.
No doubt, no doubt. That's really inspiring. And do you think that, to your point, Web3 is really opening the door for fashion designers from maybe non-traditional backgrounds, or I don't even know, like looking in the Western context, right? Like you just said, established brands, or even like established cities, whether it's New York or Paris, right? Kind of these centers of fashion. Do you think that maybe fashion is being decentralized, and do you think that Web3 is opening up opportunities, I guess like what you just mentioned, right? But do you think that that's rippling, across to other, fashion lovers and people that are like amateur or independent would be a better word, fashion designers?
As horrible as this may sound, but the fashion industry is a bit of a snobbish industry, unfortunately. We were talking about gaming and wearables. Like now, like I am very happy that things have turned around completely, because as an industry, fashion would never consider gaming as one of the important industries that can help them. Especially a luxury brand would never consider gaming to be part of their, their company. Like, how can gaming help us in any way? But now they've had to like come down and like understand and take the Web3 route and understand why wearables are important. And that's been the beginning of all things Web3. The whole virtual world and gaming and all of that has become so important. So they've had to, they're doing collaborations with Fox, and like, so they've had to understand how this industry works. I feel like it has been a leveler for the fashion industry to really like calm down and learn new things. There are more things that you need to learn about. It's not just like, you're sort of living in your own bubble. It's like becomes like an echo chamber. So I think like this was the ice breaking that was required, and surely a lot of big brands are learning about it. And some of them are smart enough to enter the space with the help of Web3 experts, which I really appreciate, because I don't think you can train your innovation and design team to just understand how Web3 runs. Like, they could read about it, they could read all the articles, but they will never be able to actually apply things. So you need to get someone who's actually worked in the Web3 space. So I feel like the brands that are getting people from Web3 to actually join their teams are doing the smarter thing. But brands that are just like asking their current staff to read up about it is not really going to help.
Right.
But here's that more of that happens, and I can see there have been some very interesting intersections. There have been some fashion events and brands who have reached out to me like, would you like to consult us just to explain to us how the space works and how to build a community? And also they really need to value their community a lot more than they usually do, because these brands are established, they already have a name, so everything sells on the name, whereas in Web3 everything sells because of the community. So I feel like they need to understand that you need to also, they're not doing a favor on you by buying from you. You are actually also like, you need to come to the same level as your consumers. So nobody's like bigger or lesser than. So I think that's something that they need to learn from Web3, which I'm hoping they do. They are, but not everyone.
Some are, some aren't. Dropped a lot of gems there, I think, for any of the corporate fashionistas out there looking for some tips. Because, yeah, I think your point is spot on as far as we've seen very well-financed brands kind of basically just throw a bunch of money at a certain Web3 project and tell their current teams to just go make it happen. And they often just contract out all the Web3 work, right? But maybe they don't know who to contract out in the best case. They just go for the one that has the best metrics or that can make the best pitch to them. But then sometimes it just flops, right? Because a lot of people can say a good game and they might have, you know, tens of thousands of followers, but that's not going to guarantee that your NFT project is successful in the short term or the long term. So yeah, I think that whole idea of taking someone from the space and bringing them into your team and building it out in a genuine way is definitely spot on. And to your point also about the community being more valuable than just the name, just the brand. And these brands, like you said, they have an awesome big global community in most cases. So all they would really have to do, to your point, is kind of turn it on its head, right? And really reach out to the community first, kind of say, this is a plan we have. How do you think this sounds, you know? And then like get them involved from the beginning, right? And kind of build it up. But yeah, how do you feel about like the overall evolution of it, I guess, to just take that, you know, fine point on your point you just made? You know, do you think that there is going to be a community driven kind of like new era of fashion essentially? Or do you think that those traditional brands have a risk of kind of, like you say, bringing that Web 2 into the space and then not really evolving in the way that some of us would like to see Web 3 evolve? How do you feel about the state of fashion in Web 3?
I would actually stay optimistic and hope that Web3 will be able to teach something to these brands that have already established themselves in the Web2 space. I think all it needs, like you said, is a bit of hand-holding. There are so many platforms which are already established, which have like, you know, retail platforms which have so many buyers and like loyalty and all of the loyal customers and everything. All they need to do is sort of like handhold their Web2 consumers to make them understand how Web3 works. And also the same thing for Web3. I feel like we should be welcoming, which I think Web3 is so far. I feel like at least the experiences that I've had like, I mean, it's been very organic the way I've increased my community of people who have joined the community. It's just, you know, I don't think I've faced anything which has been really negative in the space, and it has been really welcoming for me. So I feel like you just have to find a common point of interest, and that's all that it takes in Web3 to actually like just start building a community and having like-minded people around you. So I'm hoping that Web3 sort of, you know, helps the fashion industry evolve, other than the fashion industry bringing in their Web2 ideologies and trying to fit in Web3. But yeah, I'm just hoping.
No doubt.
I really do hope. So yeah, because
we'll
I come
see,
from
you
very
know?
traditional Web2 fashion brands. I mean, some of the brands that I worked with, I was telling them that this is something that you should think about because you are a sustainable brand and you are like still spending a lot of money on your sampling and designing. This be the next edge that you need. And they were like, oh, that's going to probably happen after 10 years. And I'm like, no, it's already happening. If you open your eyes, it's all there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't change their minds, but I just hope like that some people do understand like that this is really important and is the future. And one should learn about it. Just be curious to learn about it. You may or may not be able to implement it successfully, but at least try to understand what the space has to give you.
Most definitely, yeah. 10 years, you're going to be way behind. You wait 10 years. That's interesting, but not surprising. I think some people just think the whole digital space is so far away, you know, and the digital takeover. Meanwhile, people like us are here trading, you know, making money. Some are selling their artwork, selling fashion pieces, selling both physical and digital pieces together on the blockchain. So, you know, it's going, it's happening already. So I did want to mention we have a mutual community that is the Avril 15 fan community. I noticed you had an awesome submission for the Avril 15 art collection, and I've always been inspired by the metaverse and really the lore of the metaverse that this Avril 15 project has brought in, along with their really detailed, amazing, colorful artwork. I'm just curious, you know, what brought you into that community and maybe what inspired this specific piece that you submitted for their art submission earlier this year. It's a really, really cool piece, the Avril's mixtape there.
Yeah. So Avril was one of the first, I think, communities and the artwork that I saw. It was like when there were not even 1,000 people, I think, on the Discord. And one of my friends who introduced me to the space, she was one of them. And she was like, you have to see their art. It's amazing. And when I saw it, and just blew my mind. And I was like, I have to know these people at some point. Like, I need to like just meet them, speak to them, and just understand. Because I'm in awe of their art. I mean, that just goes without saying. But also the community is just so, again, so supportive, so welcoming, and so encouraging. And I had, I think, when I started off, which was a year ago, I had posted, they had a coloring competition, and I had taken part in that as well.
Nice.
And I got so many, so many people got added to my community from them, which was amazing. I never expected that to happen. That's like a very solid, strong community, and it's like so positive, and like I have never seen any like chat in the Discord which has been like, anything has been disturbing or anything which has been like negative at all. It's just the best community. It's super chill and it's just lovely people. And then of course they had the season 3 competition. I don't have an adult till now, so I was like, I need at least a free allocation ticket. I just need it.
Nice.
So my friend Daniel Khan, he had he was also working on one of the pieces, and he's also an incredible artist and very active in the Avril community as well. So he obviously prompted me to also take part, and I loved the prompts that they'd given. It was nostalgia. So I literally sat down, I'm like, what does nostalgia mean to me? And it got me to think about all these things, like the mixtape and like, Tetris and all these things. So all the things that I could think of which kind of were nostalgic to me, I put those things together, and then I splashed color on them and prints on them. And I absolutely love that piece. I'm so proud of it, and I'm so happy that it was for the Avril community because, they're the best.
So you got your season 3 allocation?
I did.
Nice. Congrats. I got my season 2. We rock it for the show, actually. It's our proud PTR at our PFP that we always like to rock. This is our season 2 Avril. And Jagar, shout out to Jagar. He's amazing voxels creator. He built a wearables derivative of our Avril 15 helmet, the purple helmet that she has with the glasses. So yeah, it's super cool. So I'm a big fan.
That's me too.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, welcoming, and inspiring community. And I find so many artists through that community. It's just amazing. And it always kind of fits the cyberpunk kind of brand, the bright purples and blues and greens. And I love it. It's just, it's on point.
It stuck so beautifully to the signature style and like the ethos. Like it's just the ethos that they've created. The art is just amazing. And it's the art is amazing and the community is absolutely brilliant as well.
Word. Shout out to Avril 15. Maybe one of these days I'll get that duo on the show. That would be amazing. I wanted to ask also as we wind down here, if anyone in the chat has any questions, your time to ask. What do you have going on at NFT.NYC? I know you mentioned on your Twitter that you're going to be at NFT.NYC, and just curious if you want to, promote a little bit of what you're going to be talking about or where you'll be as far as the events.
Yeah, so I'm speaking on the 12th of April in the evening around 4 with another fellow fashion illustrator who's also selling her illustrations as NFTs, Adriana. She's lovely. And I have another friend, Svetlana, who is also a part of it. So we are going to be talking about our journeys from fashion to NFTs. Adriana has been a fashion illustrator for years now, and she's selling her beautiful illustrations as NFTs. I have been creating clothes and had my own brand. So we're all bringing in, like, we're coming from very different spaces in fashion, but we've all come together at web, in this space in Web3. So we're going to be talking mostly about our journeys, and I'm very excited to talk about that because I feel like we need to bridge the gap between the Web2 fashion traditional industry and the Web3 space, which is ever changing and evolving, so new. That's what's going to be happening there, and I'm hoping to go for all the other side events also that will be there. But I will be wearing very colorful Brushbound clothes, so I hope that people can spot me easily.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, if I see you, I'll know it's you for sure. And I hope that we do cross paths. That'll be amazing. Awesome. Awesome. Looking at this Do You Come Up to Breathe piece, I really love it. It has awesome kind of some nostalgia text, old TV on there. And then it's got like the little charging logo. It's just a lot happening. I'm just curious about the inspiration behind this piece. Just wanted to share it for the audience.
Yeah, of course. This basically, I just felt like we get so over with all the things that are happening around us. You gotta get your steps in, you gotta like obviously watch your Netflix. You're constantly like trying to reach somewhere where we have no patience at all, which is running. So what this piece really signifies is that, do you ever take a moment for yourself to just stop and come up to breathe from all the chaos that you're actually submerged in? So that is what it basically meant. Like, we're just surrounded by gadgets and like just everyday life. Like it always just becomes so heavy. So it was just like a reminder that like, just take a breather. I had to say that to myself also, so that's why I was like, okay, because I spent a lot of time on this piece. It was hard, but yeah, I really like this piece as well, because that's why I feel like I use all these bright colors, but there's always like a very deep meaning behind all of them.
Yeah, I can dig that. I like the philosophy behind it. You got the little broccoli up there. It says "Eat your greens," little reminder. Yeah, very cool. So we do have a question from the chat. Shout out to Fractal. He's asking, or they're asking, do you have any other artists who you look up to that are traditional artists and not yet in the Web3 world?
Oh yes, there are so many actually that I just exited recently at this Holy Art Gallery, which is in London in Shoreditch. And I was just looking at everyone's art, which was on canvas, and I literally just wanted to tell everyone like, you need to sell this as NFTs. Like, I just don't know how to get in touch with so many people at the same time. But I can't name any one particularly, but there are so many artists but actually a lot of my favorite artists have also come onto the space. So one of my favorite artists is Jade Brown, who did the illustrations for not Wonder Woman, but the other one. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. But basically, I was following her illustrations for like years, because it always, so I use Adobe a lot and it shows up every time I use the Illustrator. So every time I see her art, I used to be like, oh wow, that's really amazing. And then I saw her work for BFF.
Oh, the BFF.
And yeah, and I was like, oh my God, that's Jade Brown. I know her. So like, I feel like a lot of illustrators who I really love, and graphic designers, just artists who I've seen who've done digital art or, canvas art, have all kind of translated. Slowly, some of them have come into the NFT space. There's an artist called MJ Ryle, who's already on Twitter. She's pretty popular. She used to host Amplify Women on Twitter Spaces. She's a traditional artist and does beautiful oil paintings. And she has also been selling NFTs. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people have made the transition, but for anybody else who wants to, I'm happy to always sell and market the idea of coming onto this space always.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, it's funny. I was at Art Basel Miami last year, and we went to one of the art spaces, and there were some NFTs there. I would say it was maybe like 10-15% of the art there had an NFT connected to it, and all the ones that didn't, I had to ask. I'm like, oh, are you on the blockchain yet? Like, and then some of them would be like, oh no, not yet, I really want to though, and they'd like ask me questions, and then others would just like roll their eyes like, no, not interested, like I don't want to put my work on the blockchain, but it's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, definitely that's what we're all about, especially at the Dream Conduit. We're really trying to push creators to see what's possible in Web3, and really that it is a new creator economy. There's nothing stopping you. You don't have to put anything else on hold in order to come over here and try some NFTs and mint your work, So yeah, it's an interesting ongoing conversation.
The only thing that I can do is just talk about my journey and just hope that like that inspires somebody that like, well, I honestly tell everyone, if I can do it, you can totally try it out. So I mean, that's why I like talking about like what's the journey that I've had, because I just want more and more people to just, you might not actually drop a collection, but just come onto the space and just speak to people who are just interested in art and like just have the same, sort of positive, like-minded mindset. And that's all that you require, really.
No doubt. No doubt. That's great advice for sure. And Fractal was also asking, I know you mentioned Illustrator. Do you do these pieces on Procreate, or you use a combination of software?
I use Procreate and Photoshop. I keep like going back and forth between the two of them. Some pieces I think I can just like maybe finish on Procreate, but then it's when I go to Photoshop that I mess with the colors really. That's where that happens.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, that's where you get really into the weeds of the contrast and all the different color options, right?
Yes, absolutely.
No doubt. Yeah, he's saying very high quality. He's very impressed. He likes this piece I got up here, which is your coming up to breathe. Great philosophical piece, very colorful. Still 19 editions left. You want to check that out on Known Origin? Check out Shreya Bhan. You can get 1.05 Ethereum. Let's go. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Fractal, for that question. It's really awesome. So I'm wondering also, when it comes to, I mean, I guess you just hit on it a little bit, leaning on your story, leaning on the inspiration behind kind of what you've been able to do and accomplish already. But do you get pushback maybe even from friends and family? Like, are you still having to kind of defend the blockchain, or at least justify the reasons to get on it? And what are you saying to those people who maybe are still listening to the FUD, as we call it, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt? But yeah, what are your kind of advice to those people, or talking points?
So I think it was very hard to explain it to people in the beginning, because they were just like, okay, she's losing it. What is the matter with her? Because I also quit a job at the same time. It just happened at the same time. It wasn't like intentional, but I kind of was enjoying the space so much, and it is demanding. You have to be on Twitter, you have to go on Twitter Spaces and all that, and obviously you enjoy it, you don't even realize, but it was getting really hard with having a job. But it sort of happened at the same time. But like, yes, there were a lot of questions that I had to answer in the beginning, but then once like a few collections sold out, and then that's when I did ask a lot of my family and friends to join Twitter and see what's really happening, so they can see how people are being appreciative of the art. And it's not just like, I'm not just sitting on Twitter and just tweeting. Like, you can see what people actually think about your art. And so I think that changed a lot of minds, and it got a lot of time. But yes, when the market went down, then there was a lot of questions, and everyone was like, what do you think? And like, how this is not really good, it's not sustainable, is it though? And like, yes, it was quite a difficult question to answer, because even I was feeling the hit as an artist. Of course, when I started, it was a different thing. Later it was different, but I was just, according to me, and this is my personal opinion on it, is that I think a lot of decluttering happened because of the market crashing, because there were a lot of people who were there for a quick buck, and they could not sustain, and they were like, clearly we're not making any money from this, so we need to leave, which I think is a thing, because now the people who genuinely care and understand the space and are willing to change with the times are still here and are still talking about it. And the thing is that in the back end, although the market is a bit down right now, but in the back end, there are just brands building. There are just more and more people coming into the space, and so many more interesting and innovative ideas are coming up. And like, you can see how music has become such a huge part of it, and just so many things. So I just feel like the expansion has been massive, but it's only going to show like maybe a year down the line or something. So people who don't have that vision and don't understand it have left, and maybe it's fine. Maybe this wasn't for them, but I'm here to stay, and I just want to see how the space like evolves even more, and kind of like, I think it had to happen. There had to be like, I mean, after all, it is like, it is a cryptocurrency. It will go up, down, and all of those things. But I still feel like it had to happen, and it has been like a sort of a correction in the community more than anything else.
I love it. That's you're taking like a marketing or an economist kind of view of the space, and I think it's accurate for sure. So decluttering, a correction, but the innovation is ongoing, the building is ongoing, and definitely we see a lot of that. Honestly, these conversations have gotten better throughout the bear market, frankly, as far as my podcast, as far as talking to people like you, and like you say, getting to the real crux of the technology, getting to the real like value proposition of what we're doing here in Web3 and the blockchain, and how it can really reverberate into society in so many ways, and most importantly, positively impact lives of creators who, you know, might be struggling or might have a hard time. But I like that you hit on the bear market point. How are you navigating it, you know, from a financial perspective? Like you say, it is a little bit slower. It might be a little bit harder to, you know, sell out right away or whatever the case may be. How do you feel, you know, artists should navigate it, and how are you personally dealing with it?
I think how I sort of navigated it was to be like super patient, which was really hard because, you know, when like you put up something, you already see like, oh, there's interest in it, like, you know, if it's out, that's amazing. But there had to be like some sort, like I had to change the pricing a bit for sure. I had to definitely get into editions, which is something that I had not done earlier. I actually took the time to go further into detailing and like, you know, creating a more like expensive piece. So I created like the average piece, and Do You Come Up to Read like much later. This was like at the peak of the bear market, like when things were really not okay. And I know that they still haven't sold out, but I'm just happy that I took the time and I spent the time to create such elaborate pieces. They're really important to me. And like I said, I didn't just create them to just sell them. And I've never done that even before. Of course, I would love my art to be with other people, but that was not the purpose that, oh, I am just going to make 10 and I hope I sell and I start making more. I'm just like, I'm not going to stop making art because that's just something that I want to do now. So it's not like I'm going to stop making art at all. But yes, I had to understand that the pricing needs to be slightly different. And maybe it's not important for me to show a new work on Twitter every few days, but if I just come up and just show myself and just talk to people and just engage with them, that's probably good enough. I felt like earlier I had to like every few days I had to like share like a work in progress, which was probably not the right strategy. But now I realize I don't to do that really. If I'm working on something, that's fine. If not, I can just post an old piece or just not post anything about with a picture, but just like come and say hello to the community and just have a GM and like just check on how everyone is doing and engage with other people and community. So there's more time to engage with people now. Otherwise, as opposed to what it was in the beginning, where you're just trying to like it was a sales pitch. Like every tweet was a sales pitch. Now it's more like about how am I engaging with the community and who all are still here and like, you know, all of those things. So I think that's the strategy.
And that's a lot more fulfilling, right? You don't feel like you have to shill or you're really like stressing out about making the sale as much. You're more just sharing what you're up to and kind of collaborating, right? And talking to other people in a more genuine kind of free-flowing way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dope. Well, this has been a really amazing conversation, Shreya. I really appreciate all your input, and I really hope we do cross paths in NFT.NYC, and I hope to see more of your amazing, colorful fashion in the metaverse as well. And yeah, it's going to be really cool, and really congratulations on all the success that you've found so far. Everybody can go follow Shreya on Twitter at Shreya_Bhan. That's SHREYA_BHAN. And definitely hope that you continue. Well, it sounds like you've got no plans of slowing down. Keep plugging away. Did you have any final questions or statements for us before we wind down here?
No, not really. Thanks so much. This was a great conversation. And I just hope that if it helps people stay in this market, even though it's looking a bit tricky, but like, let's just all hold on and be positive. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was absolutely wonderful. And I'm definitely going to see you at NFT.NYC. Look forward to it.
Dope. We'll make it happen for sure. Well, thank you everyone who's tuned in on the live stream. We'll have the podcast live on the major networks by tomorrow, and we'll have the video archive as well up by tomorrow on YouTube. And until next week, we'll catch you all in the metaverse. Take care. Peace out.